Good morning. I cannot tell you how pleased I am to have the opportunity to speak today. When the subject came up, I knew immediately where I was going to go with it. So we'll see. I'm going to do a lot of reading today because I'm going to do my best to keep my personal opinion out of the subject, but I think it's an important subject. Okay, so our CSL theme for this month is when it feels like everything is falling into pieces, how can you find more peace? When we are confused and asleep, in the illusion of separation, there is no peace. A spiritual wisdom and tools can help us awaken and rise to the truth that, as Dr. Holmes said, peace is always at the center of our own soul. Oneness, peace, and harmony prevail. In this month's topic, we explored what is peace, how to cultivate inner peace, peace with others, peace in the community, and peace on earth. And truly put the pieces together. Today, we're going to put all the pieces together and explore the question, what is mine to do? And that'll be a different answer for everybody. What is mine to do? So, in July, I attended a training from CSL entitled Our Vision, Our Voices, Our Vote, a practical guide for civic engagement with Reverend Darrell Jones. I was very interested in this because I happen to be a very politically conscious, involved person. So I pay a lot of attention to what's going on. And I wanted to refresh myself on where it was that I would cross the line on, as a practitioner, what I'm allowed to say, not allowed to say, what we as churches should and shouldn't be doing. And then, so it was very interesting. So I encapsulated a few of the bullet points that I got from that meeting. And the first thing they started out with is you cannot see injustice and not say anything. So in other words, being spiritual does not mean you're not political or not involved in or not civically aware in doing your part. Where we get in trouble is if from the podium or from an official church standpoint, we tell you how you should or should not vote. But we should tell you that you should vote. And we can tell you where we stand on issues, but not specifically who. So we can say what candidates think or don't think. We just can't tell you what conclusions about voting, but absolutely voting. I personally think voting and civic engagement are your bare minimum criteria for being a citizen of the United States. I believe that's very, very strongly. So they reviewed the rules for nonprofits. And even as a church, we are allowed to go to legislators and promote our, advocate for positions. And so I got a refresher on that. That was kind of nice. And then I want to tell you what Marianne Williamson says about this topic. She's got a book, it's a number of years ago, The Politics of Love. And I'm just going to read a couple excerpts. In the words of Plato, to philosophize and to do politics are one and the same. Not only does enlightened politics require spiritual understanding, but enlightened spirituality requires attention to politics. Politics is simply the journey we are taking together. You don't want to turn away from the journey that we're taking together. Our current problems do not come out of nowhere. In many ways, they are the inevitable consequence of compromises that we as citizens, in ways large and small, made with the better angels of our nature over decades. As we neglected our civic responsibilities a little bit over here, disengaged from politics over there, allowed ourselves to be distracted by unimportant things over here, acquiesced to the diminishment of justice over there, compromised our values over here, and ignored a problem because it wasn't happening in our own neighborhood over there. Slowly but surely, our democracy began to experience serious distress. It is easy to cast blame on others, but what is more helpful at this time is to take a deeper look at ourselves and our own issues, our distractedness, our belief that we are too cool, our cynicism, our cultural superficiality, our denial, our lack of historic understanding, our insistence that we aren't political. We, the people, have a problem. But at the deepest levels, we, the people, got ourselves into this ditch. And only we, the people, can get ourselves out of it. So I'm going to summarize by saying that the idea that sometimes you'll hear people saying, I don't want to have anything to do with politics, it's too frustrating, too disturbing, and I'm too spiritual. That's bull hockey. So CSL has put out 2 public statements relating to all of this. And the first one I'm going to talk about was just a few weeks ago on September 25th, voting our values with love. And they start out with a quote from Ernest Holmes, says, "The peace that conquers never mind. That didn't come out on my page right. You and I will know that no matter how confused we are." Oh, okay, this is his quote from The Peace That Conquers. Okay, you and I know that no matter how confused we are, if we will get by ourselves long enough to think peace, we shall become peaceful. Peace is the divine reality at the heart of God. And Archbishop Desmond Tutu says, "Do your little bit of good where you are. It's those little bits of good put together that overwhelm the world." So here's a statement from CSL, and I'm reading it directly so you don't think I'm just trying to be political here. I'm saying this is a public statement by CSL. So voting is a powerful way to express our values and principles while shaping the world. Centers for Spiritual Living, known for our inclusive and empowering teachings, believe in the importance of aligning our actions with spiritual beliefs. As we engage in the democratic process and participate in elections, we can contribute to creating a more just and compassionate society wherever we live. Yeah, and a reason I wanted to read this is because, I got to see it, but I didn't necessarily know how many out in the world get to see this. At CSL, we envision a world in which we live, grow as one global family that respects and honors our interconnectedness of all life. We recognize the inherent worth and dignity of every individual on a practical level. Voting is the opportunity to support candidates and policies that reflect the interconnectedness of all life. By hosting leaders who prioritize unity and understanding, we can build a more harmonious and inclusive world. We also promote abundance for all. This principle teaches us to see the world as a place of unlimited possibilities and to approach life with the mindset of generosity and gratitude. When we vote our values in elections, we can advocate for the economic policies that promote prosperity and well-being to all members of society. By supporting initiatives that aim to reduce poverty and increase access to education and health care, we create opportunities for economic advancement in a more equitable, flourishing society. We emphasize the importance of personal responsibility, empowerment, and operating from love. These principles encourage us to be accountable for our actions and decisions and to recognize the power we have to create change in the world. When we participate in elections and vote our values from love, we have a voice in shaping the policies and laws that govern our lives. By taking responsibility for our own role in the democratic process, we contribute to creating a society that reflects our deepest values and aspirations. CSL teaches the importance of living in alignment with our highest spiritual truths. This compels us to act with integrity, love, compassion, and authenticity in all areas of our lives. As we vote, let these spiritual principles guide us. We can demonstrate our commitment to our values by participating in elections and voting from love. I've said that a couple times, haven't I? That's pretty important. We can support candidates who embody integrity, empathy, and a genuine desire to serve the common good. By choosing leaders who lead with honesty and compassion, we help create a political environment guided by the highest spiritual principles. And I say, let us affirm together. I vote from a piece of love, aligning with my choices with compassion, integrity, and the highest good for all. Each decision I make reflects my commitment to creating a world that works for everyone, a world rooted in kindness, love, unity, and respect. And in August, they put out another statement, which I found very interesting, that normally I would be afraid to have brought up, but CSL put it out there so I can read it. That's kind of interesting. I'd be afraid. Well, because I don't want to overstep my boundaries. I want to be in integrity. A vision for compassionate leadership, a response to Project 2025. This is a statement from the CSL Spiritually Motivated Social Engagement Committee. It starts with a quote from Dr. Holmes, a prayer for my country. And I know that the spiritual democracy shall endure, guaranteeing to everyone in the country personal liberty, happiness, and self-expression. So the statement goes, Centers for Spiritual Living supports our elected leaders in upholding the institutions of American civil society with respect for and advancement of human rights. We encourage all elected leaders to respect the dignity of every individual and foster an inclusive, just, and equitable society. I love this. Yeah, I was afraid I might put you to sleep with this, but no way. This is good stuff. Guided by our New Thought spiritual traditions, we align with measures that honor each person's intrinsic worth. We celebrate diversity and promote equity and inclusion, recognizing that every individual's unique qualities enrich our nation. Terms such as sexual orientation, gender identity, diversity, equity, and inclusion should be respected within our legislative and regulatory frameworks, reflecting all citizens' fundamental rights and freedoms. Yes. Upholding these values strengthens our society through compassion, respect, and understanding. We urge current and future elected officials to safeguard the well-being of vulnerable populations. We support education to uncover and address the root causes of discrimination and exploitation, and to provide healing and restoration for affected individuals. CSL is driven by our mission to provide spiritual tools for personal and global transformation. Our vision of a world that works for everyone inspires us to strive for a just and compassionate society that upholds the core values of love, inclusivity, and the inherent worth of every individual. In this pursuit, we honor both the fundamental principles of our nation and the guiding values of CSL, as such as respect, dignity, equality, and justice. As an organization committed to a world that works for all, we believe policy proposals outlined in Project 2025 move the United States in the wrong direction. Rather than moving towards a more just and equitable society, Project 2025 moves the U.S. backwards, restricting rights and freedoms. Yes. We encourage everyone to speak aloud the affirmation below for our country. Remember, while it is important to pray, it is also important to be an engaged citizen and use the power of the ballot box to vote your values. That's right. Yeah. So let us affirm together that I affirm that the United States and its elected leaders are guided by wisdom, compassion, and integrity in all decisions and actions. I envision a nation where justice and equality prevail, and where every voice is heard and respected. I affirm that our leaders are inspired to work together harmoniously for the greater good, fostering unity and understanding among all people. Yes. So I know that there's a lot of stuff going on out there, and there's a lot of things that are being said that are clearly misinformation. And I can only suggest to you that as you're consuming whatever information, that you're looking at the sources. And just a key, if the source of your information is not clarifying that the information they're providing has been fact-checked, what their sources are, that it's been verified, be very suspicious. Be skeptical. If your sources are saying they know something that they can't possibly know and are not giving any backup information as to where they got that from, it's okay to ignore it. It's okay to consume this information intelligently and to take the time to check all the resources. There's a whole slew of fact-check online. Factcheck.com is one place to start. But yeah, just be really suspicious when somebody says something that's not clearly verified information. So that's, I consume that information myself. I look at everything every day from all sorts of sources. And if something smells fishy, I don't have to believe it. If it's just a one-line bullet, it's probably not accurate information. So be aware, be conscious, be spiritually motivated, and to know that we're doing this with love and without fear. As there's a simple statement that I say all the time: what you resist persists. So if I'm afraid of being involved in politics, I'm just making it more powerful. So thank you so much for letting me share that. And I am going to pass now. Maybe now this might be a little more entertaining, whatever Mary's going to share. So I pass to Mary Lawrence. Thank you.
That was amazing, Jody. Thank you. Love that. Okay, I have a bunch of stuff here. Try to get organized. Okay. So, hello. My prayer always is, let the words be thine and the voice be mine. So I'm just turning it over right now. So thank you so much, Jody, that it was such an important message that needs, to be shared and needs to be spoken. And the thing about being afraid, I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, but I grew up in a very conservative religious family, and I was always afraid to speak out. It was sort of an act of rebellion to speak out. And so anyways, that really resonated with me. Thank you so much. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. So Jody was talking about, the big picture and what we can do, and things like that. And what I want to do is kind of take that and go a little bit personal, sort of distill it down a little bit more. I heard a story many years ago about this little kid, and I guess the reason why I continue to remember this story is because I could really relate. So there was a little kid, I don't know, boy or girl, in my case girl, who wanted to fly a kite with their dad, and their dad said they would take him out and, fly a kite with them. And so being like really excited to go do that, and oh my gosh, get attention from, your dad, and which in my case was sort of few and far between. And so it was like, okay, when are we going to go? Like, are you ready now? And Dad's watching a football game or something. And, in a few minutes, and a few minutes later come back. Are you ready to go? Can we go now? Am I talking too loud? I don't know. So, this happens numerous times over the course of a period of time. I don't know, a football game's about 3 hours. So maybe over the course of 3 hours, are we ready? Can we go now? Can we go now? And Dad gets frustrated and just looks over and sees a National Geographic magazine. He grabs it, and there's a map of the world in the magazine. So he tears it out, and he tears it up into little pieces and gives it to the kid and says, here, put this map of the world together, and when you're done, we'll go, right? So the kid goes off, and not too long later, the kid comes back and says, here, it's done. Dad goes, how did you do that? How did you do that so fast? And the kid says, well, it was easy. I just looked on the back, and there was a picture of a person, and I put the person together, and the world just fell into place. And that story has stayed with me. I heard that many, many years ago. And also a while ago, I saw a bumper sticker on my cousin's car back in Wisconsin, said, think globally, act locally. I'm sure many of us have seen that bumper sticker, right? And it came to mind as I was writing this talk, because I was thinking about the peace song that we sing at the end of service every week. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. So it's the same kind of thing, like as above, so below. Like, think globally, but act locally. And think about peace in the world, and let it begin with me, because that's where it starts. One thing that I've learned over the course of, especially, I'll make an announcement later, there's an Al-Anon meeting here on Wednesday nights, and I attended for some time because of struggles in my family with substance use issues, and really learning to focus on the things that I have control over, that I have power over, and that's really me and my reactions and my behavior and my response. And many of you know, before I go there, here we go. Thank you. I think Martin must have put that on. So, Jimi Hendrix of all people, right? When the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace. And that's what sort of my mission is right now, is focusing on the power of love and being that place and expressing love. I'm so fortunate that I get to work with some of our most underserved, marginalized population, and there are times, I'm just sort of like busy and okay, we got to check off these boxes, have you done this, have you done that, da, da, da. And then there are times when I can just stop and look into their eyes, just remember that they are an expression of the divine, and just remember the power of love, and sending that loving energy to somebody who may not have experienced that before can be life-changing. So when we focus on the power of love, and there's, like Jody talked about, there is love of power. There is a lot of love of power going on in the world right now. And so in my little corner of the world, that's one of the things that I am doing to contribute to just sort of like the evolution of the world and peace. Because there's a lot of things that look like not peace right now. And many of you know that last year, both of my parents made their transition. July 3rd, my mom peacefully made her transition, and the way she always wanted, sort of like just in bed, just sort of go to sleep and, sort of pass on. And after my mom passed, my dad's, who had spent, the last couple of years being her primary caregiver, said, well, I guess there's nothing left for me to live for. And my sister was getting married in her 50s for the first time in September. And she said, Dad, will you promise to walk me down the aisle? And he said, I promise. So I think it was about September 9th of last year. I think it was September 9th that my sister got married. My dad walked her down the aisle. My other sister put the wrong suit on him, so he was wearing his suit from when he was heavier, So he walked down the aisle in this big baggy suit looking like a gangster or something. I can't think the word, I don't know if it's gaucho or I don't know what it is. The word gangster is good enough. Anyways, mob boss. And so my dad walked my sister down the aisle and she got married. And then a month later on October 10th, my dad passed. Also peacefully, no pain. And he just wanted to be with my mom. They were married for 63 years, so. So I'm still just processing the grief, and I used to hear people say, I think about my parents every day. And I was like, when they were living, I didn't think about my parents every day, Sorry, Mom and Dad, but then when they pass, something shifts. And so I've been listening to a lot of videos and podcasts and things, a lot of really woo-woo stuff, and just sort of connecting with, I guess, the other side of the veil, so to speak. And for a long time, for many years, I've said my purpose is to be of service. And I feel like I've done that, and especially, in recovery and in my work and raising my kids, I've been of service for a long time. I really feel like I have fulfilled that purpose. Maybe not fulfilled. I'm not saying I'm done being of service, but in some of this exploration and with the things that are going on in the world and the things that don't look like peace showing up, I've kind of decided that my purpose is to be a peacemaker. And I don't really know what that means. I don't know what that looks like. So I'm just sort of sitting with it and just allowing Spirit to guide. And I'll know it when it presents itself, whatever it is. I've done a lot of, I remember going to, before I found Science of Mind, going to a Unitarian Universalist church in the early 90s. And it was during the first Gulf War. And there were these little old ladies sitting at a table. I guess I'm one of them now, but sitting at a table in the back of the church, handing out these little slips of paper that I think were supposed to be bumper stickers. Maybe we would tape them on our cars or something. I don't know, but it was no blood for oil, And so I've done the marches, and I mean, of course I vote, I've done that stuff. And so I'm just sort of like leaning into this. So what does it look like now? What does it look like now? And I'm just sort of, I'm still in the process, and I don't usually talk about things that I'm still in process with, from the platform, but I'm still in process. And so sort of sharing some of my process with you and just sort of encouraging you. I mean, trying to just sort of like deepen and increase my spiritual practice. And so what that looks like for me right now is embracing the stillness, just going more into meditation. I was telling my prayer partner yesterday, I'm not super good with meditating in the morning just because I usually snooze the alarm and sleep. But I try to do it throughout the day when I first get to work, before I get started, and at the end of the day. And just being open, just allowing Spirit to guide, just being in the stillness and in the silence. And forgiveness, forgiving. It's hard to be spiritual when you're holding on to resentments, right? So I have a couple people in my life that I feel like I need to forgive. And I've been increasing my journaling, trying to do more journaling. And so I was journaling about forgiveness. And what came out was, I forgive that so-and-so, you know. And then, you know, the next time I was sort of in meditation, I was doing, okay, I recognize that I still have a ways to go to be complete with this forgiveness. And I found myself, so I'm doing this forgiveness meditation, and I found myself building my case, building my case in my mind. So I'm in process with this, and I guess I just get to pray to be willing to forgive, you know? So if that's where you're at, it's okay. We have to start where we are. And then gratitude, expressing gratitude for what we have right now. For the more we express gratitude, the more we have to be grateful for. And I may have also shared this, like, I am grateful for my fingers and my legs and my toes and my breath and my body that moves me around. I probably shared with you, my brother, it's been a couple of years ago, had an infection. He had sepsis and he lost all of his fingers and both of his legs below the knees. So his whole life changed almost overnight, you know, and spent 9 months in a hospital, going from one hospital to skilled nursing to, you know, different things. And he's home now and he's doing well, but you just never know when everything's going to change. So I try to be grateful for the small things that we take for granted. And living in the present moment. Living in the present moment is so important, because when we're in fear, when we're in worry, and it's so easy to slide into that. My mother was a worrier. I inherited it. My mom used to cut out magazine and newspaper articles and mail them to me. Today, I send my kids Instagram things about lock your doors, you know, all this that don't answer the door to a stranger or whatever. And so when we're in worry, when we're in fear, we're future focused. We're not in the present moment. So practicing returning to the present moment, because right here, right now, is all that matters. And Joel Goldsmith, so this is a little bit dated. It was from 1956. But he says, we who are practicing the presence are of the few who know what ultimately will save the world. It is above all things the acknowledgement that no man on earth is our Father. There is one universal Father within us, and united with him, we are united with every spiritual child of God throughout the world. Our love for God constitutes our love for the people of the world. We no longer hate. We no longer fear. We need not punish. We need not seek vengeance. We need only withdraw into ourselves and contemplate our oneness with God and with one another. So if you haven't read Joel Goldsmith, he's amazing. So just the idea of our interconnectedness, and when we heal it in ourselves, we heal it for the world because of our connection with one another. And in some of this woo-woo stuff that I've been listening to, they're talking about like critical mass, right? Reaching critical mass, you know, the 100th monkey or whatever. And we really don't have to get to 90% or 51% or whatever. 30% of the population who has evolved and is embodying that peace and that love will change the world. And Eckhart Tolle says, don't look for peace. Don't look for any other state than the one you are in now. Otherwise, you will set up inner conflict and unconscious resistance. Forgive yourself for not being at peace. The moment you completely accept your non-peace becomes transmuted into peace. Anything you accept fully will get you there, will take you into peace. This is the miracle of surrender. So I love that. The moment you completely accept your non-peace, right? It brings you there. It's one of the words are escaping me. So spiritual axiom, that's good. It doesn't seem to make sense, but intuitively we know it makes sense, right? And so, where'd Emma go? There she is. So I just have this, like I said, I was raised in a conservative religious household, and this prayer of St. Francis came to me, and I had to share it. So I hope it doesn't trigger anybody's sort of past. But I like to embrace and be open to all points of view. And I saw this amazing movie called Francesco with Mickey Rourke about St. Francis. And it was a great movie. I saw it years ago. I was going to watch it again this week, and I just didn't get a chance to. But I just invite you to take a deep breath in and release, and just take these words in. The prayer for peace. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master, grant that I may not seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. And it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. So I just invite you as we move forward into the days and weeks ahead to remember who you are. In times of trouble, when things aren't going your way, when things look like they're falling apart, sometimes it's hard to see the silver lining. But everything is for our good. Ultimately, everything is for our good. Our most difficult times, I can speak for myself, my most difficult times have brought me to where I am. And it is because of those difficult times that I am right here, right now. So in this present moment, you just think, in this moment, right here, right now, all is well. So just join me in the light for a moment. Just allowing that divine essence just to flow in, through, and as me, for just knowing that I am one with all of life. There is only one life. That life is God. That life is perfect, whole, and complete. That life is just the expression of love. Anything unlike love, unlike peace, unlike joy, there's just no power in it. It is an illusion. And as I rise above that and just be an expression, an emanation of that divine love, that divine presence, that infinite life, I just know that Spirit is moving in, through, and as me in my life, guiding me, inspiring me in each moment. As I know this for myself, I know this for each one here today, that we are all divine, beloved beings. We are powerful spiritual beings, and we are having a human experience. But as we move into that awareness, that remembrance, that I am remembering who I am, that is the mantra. I am remembering who I am. Just knowing that this light just makes shadows disappear. So I just shine the light of truth on each one here, everybody online, anybody listening later. I just shine the light of truth. I claim it and declare it for each one of us. And as I do, this energy just reverberates across the planet. I know that together we have the power to bring peace to this world, to be expressions of love. And for this, I am just so deeply, deeply grateful. I just speak my word, releasing it into the law, knowing that the only thing the law knows to do is receive my word and act upon it and just say yes. And so I call it forth into being, saying, let it be done. And so it is.